In my previous few lectures, I have discussed the amplification of microwave signal based on the klystron amplifier, followed by the design of microwave oscillator using reflex klystron, and after that the magnetron. A few semiconductor devices are also discussed in my previous lectures, which are used in microwave frequency ranges, and out of them bipolar junction transistors, MESFETs have been discussed. In this lecture and couple of next few lectures, I am going to discuss the design process of microwave amplifier based on the transistors that may include the bipolar junction transistor or MOSFET or MESFET, whatever. You already have been introduced with the design process of the amplifier using transistor in the low frequency regime. As you know that in the case of low frequency amplifier design, the wavelength corresponding to those low frequency signals are large enough compared to the particular device or circuit. So therefore, simple analysis based on the circuit theory, that means the KVL and KCL, are enough to design or to analyze such kind of amplifiers. But the scenario changes in the case of high frequency signals, or particularly in the case of microwave signals, because the wavelength corresponding to the microwave signals becomes comparable to that of the circuit or the device or any other circuit element. Therefore, the KVL, KCL, and the associated mathematical tools such as the uh, Z matrix, Y matrix corresponding to the Z parameter, Y parameter, or hybrid parameter are not suitable anymore to be applicable for such kind of devices being operated at the microwave frequency ranges. And that is why the S parameter or the scattering matrix appeared appropriate one to deal with such kind of devices. If you are not familiar with the scattering matrix, then you can go and search my previous lectures based on the scattering matrix. Therefore, in designing the amplifiers based on the transistor for the microwave frequency ranges, a scattering matrix play an important role. So that is why, without knowing the internal parameter of the transistors, the amplifiers in microwave frequency ranges can be designed if you can know the amplitude of the reflected wave for a given incident wave. From the concept of transmission line, you know that the reflection is caused due to the mismatch of impedances. So therefore, if there exists some impedance mismatch either at the input side or in the output side, then the reflections may occur from the input or from the output terminal. So based on the terminals where the matching loads are being applied, so different power gains are defined for the amplifiers in microwave frequency ranges. So in this lecture, I am going to define those usable power gains which are associated or which will be derived from the given S parameters. Basically, three important gain are being considered in designing the amplifier in microwave frequency ranges. The first one is the power gain, next one is the available power gain, and the third one is the transducer power gain. Although out of these three, this transducer power gain will appear the important one, and we should deal with this transducer power gain later on. So therefore, in this lecture, I will give you the clear understanding of these three kind of power gains and the derivation of each type of power gains. The first one is the simple power gain, which is defined as the ratio of PL to PI, where this PL represents the power being delivered at the load, and this P in defines the power which is being delivered at the input terminal of the device. Now here in this figure, this box represents the basic amplifier that may be made of the bipolar junction transistor or the MOSFET or any or FET or MESFET or any other type of amplifiers which has a characteristics like the transistors. And these two terminals are the input terminal of that transistors, and these two terminals are the output terminal of the transistor. Vs represents the external voltage source with the source impedance Zs. The input impedance that is going to be experienced by the external voltage source should appear across these two terminals over here, and depending upon the mismatch of this source impedance and the input impedance and the characteristics impedance of the transistor itself. So Z0 here represents the characteristics impedance of the transistor itself. So if there exists a mismatch between the input impedance which is appearing at these two, between these two terminal with that of the characteristics impedance of the transistor, then the reflected wave V1 minus should be generated. So this reflected wave or reflected voltage wave is caused due to the mismatch of the input impedance and the characteristic impedance of the transistor. Similarly, if there exists a mismatch between the input impedance and the source impedance or the source impedance and the characteristic impedance, so there also will be corresponding reflection coefficient associated with the incident wave and the reflected wave. On the output side, the scenario is just reverse one, because this, with respect to this transistor, this V2 minus is the reflected wave which is transmitting towards the load, but this one is the desired one because the power of the V2 minus that should appear across the load, and our amplifier should be designed in such a way that this power should be dissipated across the load, and we have to minimize that V2 plus, which is basically a reflected wave being generated due to the mismatch between the output impedance and the uh, characteristic impedance of the transistor, or the load impedance and the characteristic impedance of the transistor. So therefore this V2 plus is undesired one, and we should minimize this one because this is the reflected wave from the output terminal to the transistor itself. However, so depending upon the various power at the various terminals, there are different power gains. The first one is the ordinary power gain, which is called the or which is defined as the ratio of power being dissipated across the load and the power being delivered to the input terminal of the transistor, that means across these terminals. Next one is the available power gain. Available power gain is defined as the power available from the network to the power available from the source. Now power available means the maximum power that is available from the network, and we know the maximum power transfer can take place if this output terminal is matched with the characteristic impedance of the transistor, or whatever the device is being represented by this box. So it has a characteristic impedance Z0, and if the output impedance is matched with that of the characteristic impedance, then the maximum power should be transferred, and that is the power available from the network. Similarly, power available from the source is defined when the input impedance will be matched, exactly matched, or the conjugate match with the source impedance. What is the conjugate matching? I will discuss later. So in that case, the maximum power that will be available across the input terminal of the network, so that should be the or that is called the available power from the source, and that is associated with the that is called the power available power gain. Next one is the transducer power gain. A transducer power gain is the ratio of the power being dissipated across the load divided by the power available from the source, and this is the important one, because you can see the ordinary power gain depends only on the load impedance, because this PL includes the load, because this PL basically is the power being dissipated across the load, but the input power, which actually indicates the power appeared across across the input terminal of the device, or of the network. So this P in is independent of the source impedance, because when you are considering the ordinary power gain, you are just considering what is the power available at these two terminal. It doesn't matter that what is the voltage source you have applied and what is the power being derived at this terminal. You are not considering the derived one, you are just considering what is available across these two terminal, and you are taking the ratio of the power being dissipated across the load divided by the power available at this terminal, or the input terminal of the transistor. So therefore we are not comparing the power P input with respect to the applied power. So that is why this ordinary power gain is independent of the source impedance. On the contrary, the available power gain depends upon the source impedance, but it is independent of the load impedance, because as I told, the available power from the network means the maximum power available from the network, and that only can be available when you will terminate this output terminal by a matching load. Matching load means matched with respect to the input, or with respect to the characteristic impedance of the device itself. But the available power from the source depend upon the source impedance, because the matching network what you should apply to extract the maximum power from the source, external source, depends upon the source impedance, because the matching should be done according to the source impedance. So that is why available power gain depends upon the source impedance, but it is independent of the load impedance. Transducer power gain depends upon the both, because obviously this PL depends the power dissipated across the load impedance, and this is the power available from the external voltage source. So that is why it depends upon both the load impedance as well as the source impedance. As I told, based on the impedance matching, there can be a reflected wave. So therefore the reflection coefficient can also be written in terms of the source impedance with respect to the characteristic impedance of the device, because based on the mismatch between the source impedance and the characteristic impedance, this reflection coefficient gamma s should appear, and that gamma s you can visualize when you are looking into the source itself. So that is because this gamma s, this reflection coefficient, defines the reflection that is caused due to a mismatch between the source impedance and the characteristics impedance of the device, and the reflected wave generated due to this effect propagates towards the source itself. Similarly, gamma L represents the reflection coefficient due to a mismatch between the load impedance with that of the characteristics impedance of the device. When you are designing an amplifier based on transistor, then along with the transistor, any other additional devices or components may also be associated with that device. There can be a capacitor, can be a resistor, can be another transistor, but those external parameters, if are connected with the input terminal of this transistor at this terminal, then the equivalent impedance looking from this terminal will define the input impedance which should be associated with that transistor. You can easily imagine the input impedance that may appear in the case of voltage divider bias circuit, what we generally used to prefer for low frequency amplifier design. So in that case, the biasing transistors define the input impedance along with the internal component of the transistor. The external components also take part to define the input impedance. So therefore, that input impedance, if any other circuit exists, so that input impedance mismatch may also occur. Similarly, the mismatch in output impedance may also occur. So you can easily identify the mismatch, the reflection coefficient which is being generated due to the mismatch in input impedance, and here it is denoted as gamma in, and the gamma out which is being used to represent the mismatch in output impedance with that of the characteristic impedance of the device. Since in this particular case our objective is to relate the S parameters, here S parameter means the parameters of the S matrix, that means V1 plus, V1 minus, and V2 plus and V2 minus. So these elements of the S matrix we should relate with the associated reflection coefficient, and thereby for this lecture our purpose is to define all those three gains, that means the power gain, available power gain, and the transducer gain. So that is why, although this gamma S and gamma L is defined precisely, but this gamma in and gamma out can also be defined by considering the definition of the S matrix or the element of the S matrix associated with the reflected waves and the incident wave. And you are familiar with this equation where this V1 minus represents the reflected wave which is associated with the incident wave V1 plus as well as the incident wave V2 plus. V1 plus is the incident at the input port 1 and V2 plus is the incident wave at input port 2. So S11 is associated with the reflection coefficient when this V2 plus is 0. That means when no excitation at port 2, then S11 should represent the pure reflected wave, because that will be defined by V1 minus divided by V1 plus. Similarly, S12 will represents the wave that should or the magnitude of the wave that will be transferred from port 2 to port 1 when there will be no reflected wave at port 1, and V2 minus also defined accordingly. Further, this gamma L, which is associated with the mismatch of load impedance, and that causes the reflected wave V2 minus when this V2 plus is the incident wave from the output terminal. So that is why the ratio of V2 plus to V2 minus defines the gamma L, and which has an explicit expression which is equals to ZL minus Z naught divided by ZL plus Z naught. Already I have shown in my previous slide. And in this equation I have just replaced the V2 plus by its own expression. The purpose of replacing this V2 plus by this expression is clear over here, because again this V2 plus I have replaced from here. This V2 minus I have replaced. This V2 minus is replaced by the expression of the V2 minus from here. So once this expression is replaced over here, so I can define, or I took common this V1 plus, and I have defined this ratio in order to find the expression for this gamma in, or the reflection coefficient at the input terminal, or due to the mismatch in input impedance, and this expression is holding all of these parameters. Now here S11 represents the reflection coefficient when there exists no excitation at the port 2 or the output port. So S12 when it is 0, S12 represents the available magnitude at port 1 when the excitation is available at port 2. So when this one is 0, gamma L will be equals to S11 itself. Or if gamma L equals to 0, gamma L is equals to 0 means when the matching condition is achieved, that means matching of the load impedance with that of the characteristics impedance is done, then also this gamma L will be 0 because no reflections will take place. So then also this gamma in will be equals to the S11. In a similar manner, the gamma out can also be obtained as I have obtained this gamma in, and the expression is looking like similar to that gamma in, where S11 exists in case of gamma in, here exists S22. And while there exists gamma L, which is caused by the mismatch in load impedance, there exists gamma S, which is caused the mismatch in the source impedance. Now that I got all the necessary parameters to define the power gains, the first one that I am going to consider the input power delivered to the network, which is called the P in. And from this expression, you can see that if this input reflection coefficient, that means this gamma in, which is caused due to mismatch in the input impedance, is 0, then the expression for the input power or the average power delivered to the network will be reduced down to this magnitude of V1 plus square divided by 2Z0. Now, since the complex voltage I am considering, or in the case of S parameter, or in the definition of S parameter, the complex voltage is considered. So that is why this magnitude is, or this mod V1 plus square is to be considered. But in the case of simple circuit applications, we know for a real voltage, so this expression for the power appears as V square divided by 2R when you deal with a pure sinusoidal signal. But in this case, the presence of this gamma in signifies that the maximum power will not be delivered if the gamma in is not equals to 0. That means the maximum power will not be available at the input of the network if this gamma in is not equals to 0. Now, looking at the input terminal of the device or of the amplifier, we can easily define the V1 as the derived voltage from the supplied one. That means this is the signal Vs times Zin if you consider the input impedance is appearing across this terminal. So the V1 is actually the voltage appearing across the input impedance, and that is being derived from the Vs. So simple voltage divider rule is quite enough to define the V1 across the input impedance. But this V1 is nothing but the total voltage, that means the incident voltage wave plus the reflected voltage wave, where the reflected voltage wave can also be related with the incident voltage wave but the reflection coefficient if this is not equal to 0. Now, from this above equation, if you divide the entire equation by this 1 plus gamma in, then this equation will be resulted, and it is very clear to you. Here, this Z in can be obtained by observing this expression, where this gamma in is equals to Z in minus Z0 divided by Z in plus Z0, and from here you can easily derive the expression of Z in, which includes the gamma in and Z0 itself. Similarly, the Zs that also already I have obtained with this expression. So from here, these Zs can also be obtained containing the gamma s as well as the Z0. And finally, if you replace these two expressions of Zin and Zs in this expression, then the expression of the Zin divided by Zs plus Zin, which exists in this expression, can be written by this form. And finally, the expression for V1 plus can be obtained as shown over here. Now, with the expression obtained for V1 plus, the P in, which is already I have defined as the average power delivered to the network, can also be written by replacing this expression of the V1 plus over here, and this should be the final equation for the P in. Next one is the power delivered to the load. Similar to the previous one, that means this one, the power delivered to the network, the power delivered to the load can also be defined, where the reflection coefficient associated with the mismatch in load should appear in the expression, and V2 minus should appear because this is the voltage wave that is approaching towards the load, and finally this voltage or the power corresponding to this voltage is being dissipated across the load. So that is why V2 minus is appearing in this expression. In my previous slide, I have shown you the relation between V2 minus and the V1 plus. So therefore, from this expression that already I have shown in my couple of slides earlier, so from there this V2 minus can be replaced by the expression of V1 plus, and that when you replace that expression, the expression for the PL should look like as shown over here. And as the expression for the V1 plus is right now known to you from here, so you can directly replace it over here. Now, from the definition of the ordinary power gain, which is defined as the power dissipated across the load divided by the average power delivered to the network, can be obtained as shown in this expression. The maximum power or the available power from the source will be equals to the input power when the source impedance will be matched with the input impedance. Basically, this matching is conjugate matching. So when this conjugate matching will take place, then this power will be maximum. Therefore, in the expression of this P in, if you replace this gamma in is equals to the conjugate of this gamma s, then this expression will be resulted. Because the expression of the P in that I have obtained in my last slide is this one. And here, if you use this condition that this gamma in is equals to the conjugate of gamma s, then from the numerator this one and from the denominator 1 square will be cancelled out, and finally the expression should look like this one. Similarly, the power available from the network can be obtained if in the expression of the PL, that is the power being dissipated across the load, if we apply this conjugate matching condition. That means the maximum power will be available from the load if the load impedance will be a matched one with that of the output impedance of the network. So by applying this condition, this expression will be resulted. Considering this expression for this mod square of 1 minus gamma s times gamma in, if you replace this expression in my previously available expression for the PAVN, then the simplified expression of the power available from the network can be obtained as shown over here. Look at here, this gamma out represents, or this is basically the condition where you are replacing the conjugate matching between gamma L and gamma out, whereas in the previously obtained expression of the PAVN, there exists gamma S and gamma in, and in this gamma S and gamma in are the property of the input side. So in the expression of gamma S and gamma in that already you have obtained, or I have shown you the expression for gamma S holds the Z0 and ZS, whereas the expression for the gamma in already I have shown or I have derived in a couple of slides earlier. There, by replacing that condition, you can obtain this expression, and straightaway you can replace this expression in a previously obtained expression, and finally this PAVN can be obtained as shown over here. So we are in a good position to define the other two types gain. The first one is the available power gain, which is equals to the ratio of the power available from the network to the power available from the source, and already the expression of these two we have obtained. And the transducer gain, this is the equals to the ratio of power being dissipated across the load and the power available from the source. That expression can also be obtained very easily. Look at the expression of the available power gain. Now here, due to the presence of this gamma s, the available power gain is reduced, whereas due to presence of this gamma out, this available power gain can be increased is this gamma out will be close to the unity. Whereas if this gamma s will be close to unity, this available power gain will be reduced. This is because consider that gamma s is equals to 0. That means you have achieved the conjugate matching between the source impedance and the characteristic impedance. So therefore, the gamma out, when it will be close to unity, that means V2 minus, which is the reflected wave from the device or from the amplifier that is propagating towards the load, will be increased, and which is our desired one. That means when the gamma out will be close to unity, the most of the amplified voltage should be available across the load, and that is why this parameter is increasing the available power gain. On the contrary, the gamma s represents the reflection coefficient associated with the input terminal, and which signifies the reflected wave from the device towards the source itself, and it appears due to mismatch in source impedance and the characteristics impedance. So out of the total applied voltage, if most of the applied voltage is being reflected due to a mismatch between the source impedance and the characteristics impedance, obviously that would reduce the available power gain. Here is a list of all those power gain that I already have discussed and derived. In addition to this, there exists another power gain which is generally used for the unilateral device. Unilateral device means when the excitation can be accepted by the device only from one port, mainly from the input port. So that input port which is defined as the port 1. So if you apply the excitation at port 2, then no voltage will be available as output at port 1. So and that condition is defined as S12 is equals to 0, and you know S12 means the which signifies the S parameter when the excitation is available at port 2 and you are measuring or observing the voltage at port 1, and that parameter or that element of the S matrix is 0, which signifies the unilateral device. So for the unilateral device, the unilateral transducer power gain can be obtained as shown over here. So by considering this condition, if you derive the transconductance gain, then this expression will be appeared. Let's see what is the significance of the expression which appeared as the transducer gain. Now, here in this expression, PL, as I told, it represents the power being distributed across the load impedance, and this is the power available from the network. Power available from the network means the maximum power will be available from the network if there exists an input matching circuit. So if there exists an input matching circuit, so there would be a relation between the applied signal, that is the Vs, to the signal available from the input matching circuit. And basically input matching circuit is used to match the input impedance with that of the source impedance. So therefore in this expression, or in from this expression of the transconductance gain, the expression 1 minus gamma mod gamma s square divided by 1 minus gamma in times gamma s, or mod square 1 minus gamma in times gamma s, this should be associated with the input matching circuit, and that is why we can separate it out. G naught is representing solely the S parameter S21 of the transistor itself. S21 means when you are exciting the port 1 and observing from port 2, and that obviously defines the transconductance gain of the transistor itself. Similarly, all other parameters associated which are associated with the load gamma L and S22 is associated with the port 2, and gamma L is associated with the load impedance, mismatch between the load impedance and the characteristics impedance. Therefore, this GL should be associated with some output matching circuit, and this gamma L and S22 will be some parameter which defines the relation of the input of the output matching circuit, that means from at this terminal, with the output of the output matching circuit, that means in between these two terminals. So therefore the transconductance gain or overall transconductance gain of an amplifier can be seen as the gain or the product of the gain coming from the input matching circuit, the gain of the transistor itself, and the gain coming from the output matching circuit. Although the overall transducer gain of the amplifier was derived on the basis of the elements of the S matrix, which depends upon the reflected voltage amplitude and the incident voltage amplitude. Other than this way, you also can derive the transducer gain of the amplifier if you know the small signal model of the transistor. The small signal but the high frequency model, because as we are going to use such device for microwave applications, so therefore the small signal high frequency model should be used in place of the transistor that you are using as an amplifier over here. In this diagram, I have used a small signal high frequency model of FET amplifier, where this is the physical gate terminal, this is the physical source terminal, and this one is the drain terminal. And the model is represented at the input side. So this is the if you look from this terminal, so this represents the input impedance, which is denoted as Zin, and which comprises of this Ri along with this CGS. Now, in addition to this CGS, where the CGS is the gate to source capacitor, and where this CDS is the drain to source capacitor. So in addition to these two capacitor, there exists another capacitor that is related between the gate to drain. So this gate drain capacitor, but here that capacitor is absent. So that capacitor is avoided in order to make this model for an unilateral transistor, because this capacitor brings some of the output signal to the input. So if this capacitor is absent, then the signal from the input side can go to the output side, whereas no signal can come to the input side as a feedback. So that is why the gate to drain capacitor is not considered here. Now look at this section. So this is the source impedance. You can name it as ZS. Since the high frequency model of the FET amplifier includes this capacitor CGS, so therefore in order to get the maximum available signal from the input voltage, we should apply a conjugate matching over here, and that is why this element, this reactive elements, or which is an inductor over here, is connected in series with the input impedance or the source impedance Ri. This is the real part of the source impedance. So with the real part of the source impedance, an inductive or the reactive part is connected, so that the conjugate matching can be done with the source impedance. From this figure, you can see that the impedance within across this gate to source terminal is equals to Ri plus 1 over j omega CGS, and when there will be a conjugate matching, then this will be equals to this one, and that is equals to Ri plus j XL. XL represents the reactive element, or which is an inductor, and since the conjugate matching is to be done, and if you bring this j over here, then this becomes minus, and that will make this XL is equals to 1 over omega CGS. Therefore, in order to make these conjugate matching of these input reactive element with the source impedance, we have to connect an inductor which has this magnitude, this much magnitude is equals to 1 over omega times CGS, where the CGS is the internal capacitor or gate to source capacitor of the FET amplifier. In a similar way, you can see that the conjugate matching is also done at the output side, because initially there exists this RDS and the CDS, this is the drain to source capacitor, and this RDS, this is the load. Either this can be a load or you can apply the load over here, but here the additional circuit that I have applied or I have connected over here, that is this RDS and JB. Since this is the capacitor, this one, therefore as you have seen over here, that in order to achieve this conjugate matching, I have to connect an inductor which has the magnitude B equals to 1 over omega CDS, similar to the previous case, or you can call it BL instead of only B. So there is a BL. Therefore, by conjugate matching, you are basically eliminating the reactive elements within a circuit. Now, this VC can be obtained as Vs times 1 over j omega CGS divided by Ri plus Jx plus Ri plus 1 over j omega CGS. So this is the Vs, but as we know, this X has the equal magnitude of these this part, but opposite in phase, so therefore these two will be cancelled out. And finally, you are getting this Vc is equals to Vs 1 over 2 j omega Ri CGS. So this is the total voltage which is actually driving the this current source over here, this current source, and that is why I am writing this value what I have obtained using the voltage divider rule over here. Finally, the power being dissipated across the load impedance, we can here the load impedance is considered as this RDS itself. So since the reactive elements are cancelled out, so only two RDS exists. So therefore, the parallel combination of the similar two resistance will be RDS divided by 2. And finally, since the current source is GM times Vc, so applying the KVL within this output loop, you will get the power being dissipated across the load as shown over here on the numerator, and the available power from the source can be written as this one, because since the reactive elements gets cancelled out, so only the power will be dissipated by the resistance Ri, and that can be written as shown over here. Now already I have obtained the expression for Vc, which is in terms of the Vs, and here I am replacing it over here, and finally this expression I am obtaining. Here the final expression is written in terms of the cutoff frequency Ft, and an interesting result you can see from the expression of this overall transducer gain of this amplifier, this particular amplifier, is that the transducer gain is reducing as a function of 1 over f square, like this. So GTU is proportional to 1 over f square. or 6 dB per octave. So here is a physical example that how you can achieve the overall transducer gain for a unilateral device. Here U stands for unilateral device, using the small signal model or small signal high frequency model of the particular transistor. But the important aspect of the S parameter is that the same result, not in with this expression in terms of the elements of the S matrix, you can obtain as an expression of the overall transistor gain if you use the S parameter for the transistors used in microwave frequency ranges.